What is up, people? It is your favorite duo back here on the Loudmouth MMA podcast network for the breakdown coming up this weekend, UFC Minneapolis. I'm your host, Max Friedman, Trademark MMA on Twitter. Got my man all the way in the Netherlands amidst some internet connection issues. Maybe on his end, maybe on my end, TBD. But Big Marcel Dorff, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man? Good to be back and ready to talk some fights, man. And let's hope the internet connection will hold for like 40 minutes or something, right?
Yeah, let's hope it holds up and we'll be all good. We are the breakdown here on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. You can find the podcast network wherever you get your podcasts. That's iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. Got some great shows on the network, including the Not Safe for Work MMA show. That's Fred Kirby and Kyle Steele. Don't listen around your kids though. Only suitable for adults in that one. MMA Yesterday, looking at events of years past. The great show Between the Links, hosted by Mike Heck with some great panelists, including Davidson Baker, Craig Allen, Keith Schillen. Always fun to listen to. And you know, yours truly, as well as my illustrious co-host, Big Marcel, will be back on at some point to take down those panelists and show them who really is the top dog, who are the top dogs in the Loudmouth MMA Army. I want to welcome our boy John Franklin to the team. Him and Keith will start doing a Sunday morning Cornerman recap show. Really looking forward to seeing that kick off on the network. Big Marcel, we look ahead. UFC Minneapolis coming up this weekend. Also UFC on ESPN3. You excited for this card this weekend?
Yeah, man, definitely. I'm happy you say you look ahead because then we don't have to go through the picks from last week. Yeah, man, looking forward to this event. I think there's some solid matchups on that, and yeah, some debut. How do you say it? Debutants. Say in English, yeah.
Well, yeah, debutantes in English, but yeah, debuting fighters, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there's some names on there where I'm curious about how they're gonna do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, definitely, man.
I know Big Marcel didn't want to look at the standings, but just to put it out there, another win for yours truly last week, 8-3 on the night. Big Marcel going 6-5. Did pick up 2 performance of the night bonuses, though. Impressive there with Jairzinho Rozenstruik and the Korean Zombie. Brings
and have to say, for my boy Al as well, got robbed from a decision.
Oh yeah. The Kiriko absolutely did not get that. Should have taken home that decision. I'm with you there. Did not walk away with it, but nonetheless, it is a win for Kevin Holland on paper. Standings for the year: 139.96 for me, 126 and 109 for Big Marcel. You still lead the way in bonuses though, 18-15, and then 7 underdogs to 4. That's me for 7, you 4. Did pick one up with the Korean Zombie being my underdog. I know Alessio Di Chirico did not get any help from the judges. He probably should have walked away with that victory, but nonetheless, still sticking at 4 there, Big Marcel. Looking ahead, though, UFC on ESPN3, UFC Minneapolis coming up June 29th. That's at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Big Marcel, are you ever going to go to Minneapolis?
Yeah, man, probably when they make a Grand Theft Auto about it. I don't know. No, probably not. I don't know what should I have to do there, man.
They have an attraction called the Mall of America, which is just the biggest shopping mall you'll ever see. It also has an amusement park in it too. But other than that, just some sporting events. Maybe a lot of snow, really cold.
Okay, yeah, it should be suitable for this moment of the day, I think, because it's here 35 degrees. So it's, how is 35? What did I say? 95 in Fahrenheit?
Yeah, 95 in Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
you got to remember your audience here, Big Marcel. They're going to think you're over there freezing, sitting in snow or something.
No, I'm not. I honestly, I wish at this moment, man. I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
I can see the fan blowing your shirt in the distance.
Yeah. I have to, because otherwise I drop down here, man. It's so hot over here, but yeah, for me this is too extreme. But yeah, maybe I'm just a big baby. I don't know.
Speaking of big babies, we kick things off in the heavyweight division. Junior Albini taking on Maurice Green to kick off the prelims of the evening. Mo Green, a -130 favorite in his home state. Junior Albini, the Brazilian, plus 110, slight underdog there. Probably the last chance for Albini. He's lost 4 straight since winning his UFC debut. He's coming off that TKO loss to a guy we just saw last weekend, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but had gotten him down, was kind of cruising on top, landing shots from the top position. Mo Green, meanwhile, sharpened his UFC debut with that triangle choke over Michel Batista, but really kind of lackluster outing second time out. That split decision nod he got against Jeff Hughes, a very slow-paced fight, highly criticized there. Big Marcel, which way you leaning in the first bout of the evening?
Yeah, man. I think I'm not really impressed by Albini by any means. I think his UFC debut was quick against Timothy Johnson, but I'm not sure if we do that 4 more times. If he win he win 4 more times. Maurice Green is like what you said. He had a good debut. Really weird outing, I think, on the Ultimate Fighter. And some just the whole Ultimate Fighter was not something for him, I think. But he's 2-0 since at the UFC last fight. I think it was a 50-50 one against Jeff Hughes. I picked Hughes in that one. I thought he won as well, but okay, Green got it. It was a close fight, so I don't think you can complain there. Favoring Maurice Green in this one, probably by a decision, but won't be a pretty fight, I think.
Yeah, he didn't seem to be mentally there, and I don't know. I kind of expect Albini to come out swinging in this one. I think Albini actually has a good chance to get Mo Green out of there. I'll take Albini first round finish. But man, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way either. All right, moving things along, we got a bout at 115 in the women's division, strawweights. Emily Whitmire taking on Amanda Ribas. Whitmire minus 170, Ribas plus 150. Whitmire, she fell short in her UFC debut, but back-to-back impressive wins. Decision win over Jamie Moyle, finish over Alexandra Albu, now 2-0 since dropping down to her natural strawweight weight class. She trains out of Extreme Couture, does a lot of work at the UFC Performance Institute. I believe she is the girlfriend of Johnny Case, so a lot of mixed martial arts in that household. Meanwhile, we finally get to see Amanda Ribas. She served that 2-year USADA suspension. She's 6-1 Brazilian, was supposed to fight Juliana de Lima in 2017, but really has not been able to compete. Only 25 years old, and her only loss in her career is to the UFC's Poliana Viana. Big Marcel, you taking the American or the Brazilian in this one?
Yeah, man, I thought long about this. Like you said, her only loss against Poliana Viana. Like David said, she can call me. Sorry, Suman, by the way. Emily Whitmire, she looked great in her last fight, man, against Alexandra Albu, and I think she's looking every time better. She's in the octagon, and Amanda Ribas coming off that 2 year suspension from USADA, like you said. I think it will be a close fight, but I'm favoring Emily Whitmire in this one, getting her in a unanimous decision win.
Yeah, I am too. I hate the layoff for Ribas, and I like the way Whitmire's been performing. Give me Emily Whitmire to take a decision here. All right. Now we got a fight at 205 pounds on the men's side. Justin Ledet taking on Dalcha Lungiambula. Did I say that right? Lungiambula?
Probably.
Yeah. Lungiambula, the newcomer, minus 120. Justin Ledet, slight even money underdog there. Ledet really seemed like he was the real deal coming into heavyweight, going 3-0, and then some reason he goes back down, and ever since then has been beaten badly, man. Two losses at 205, dominated by Alexander Rakic, TKO'd in 15 seconds by Johnny Walker. Just doesn't seem like he can get it right in this weight class. Meanwhile, the newcomer, 9-1, 5-fight win streak. He was the EFC light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, big in South Africa there. Has some decent wins on his resume. Big Marcel, you like the established UFC veteran here, or are you taking the newcomer?
I've made my pick, man, but I want yours this time first.
Yeah, I'll go first. I like the newcomer Lungiambula to get it done. TKO in the second round. I just don't like what I've seen out of Justin Ledet at 205. I think at heavyweight, he's a lot faster than a lot of the competitors. He can use his strong technical boxing and kind of stay on the outside. I think some of these really athletic light heavyweights can kind of match him in the athleticism department. I'm taking the newcomer to get it done.
Yeah, I actually surprised that Ledet is 3 years younger than Lungiambula. I didn't know that before, but yeah, man, it's hard to pick for Ledet right now, man. In the last two outings, it was so decisively beat, I think, and those were both at light heavyweight, like you said. But we also have to consider it was against Johnny Walker and against Alexander Rakic, and it's two of the most brightest prospects in the division, I think. Dalshalom Guillaume, it's kind of like they setting him up against another guy who can make a pretty good run in this division. Yeah, taking Dalcha, man, probably by a first round knockout.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. Well, both of us taking Dolce to get it done in the first round. All right. Well, we move things along here, and we got about at 155 pounds in the lightweight division. Jared Gordon, Flash Gordon, taking on Dan Moret. Gordon minus 360. Big favorite in this one. Dan Moret plus 300 underdog. Gordon, we know the incredible story of recovery, but as far as UFC career goes, he is 2-2, and he is coming off back-to-back TKO losses. I did hear he did sign a new contract, though, so perhaps not quite on the hot seat like you'd expect. Meanwhile, Dan Moret, though, he's got to be on the hot seat here. He's from Minnesota, and although he trains at the lab in Arizona, he's 0-2 in the UFC, but I think he is from Minnesota, hence why he's getting this bout here. But this just doesn't seem much more in this one. I mean, Jared Gordon seems like the better fighter right now to me. I'm taking him with a decision. Big Marcel, what you got?
yeah, man. It's like you said, man. Jared Gordon. He lost his last fight by knockout in the third round, but I think he was winning before getting knocked out against Joaquin Silva. And Joaquin Silva Neto beat BJJ. He's a pretty solid fighter, man.
He's 4-1 in the UFC. Neto
Exactly.
BJJ. Yeah.
Only a split decision loss against Vince Pichel, I think. Um, Dan Moret, yeah, very, very disappointing in this last fight. I think against Alex White, I thought he would get it done, but he didn't. Short notice fight against Gilbert Burns, got knocked out. Okay, that can happen. It's a short notice fight against, in my opinion, one of the better 155 was outside of the top 15. Um, yeah, I taking Jared Gordon all day in this one, man. Probably not by a finish, but by a decisive unanimous decision.
Yep, me too. All right, moving along, we go to the featherweight division. Jordan Griffin is a minus 225 favorite against the newcomer Vince Murdoch, plus 175. Jordan Griffin is a second UFC outing. He was beaten in a really good back and forth battle by Dan Ige last December in Milwaukee. He is a Rufus sport guy, really good finishing instincts. He has quite a few finishes on his resume. Meanwhile, Vince Murdoch replaces Chaz Skelly, the late notice call here. He fights out of Team Alpha Male. He's 28, 12-3 overall, 4 wins and 1 no contest in the last 5. He had a really controversial deal with the SFL in India. Those seem to have been sorted out now, as it doesn't appear that any of the controversial losses he suffered are on his record anymore. Loves to stand and trade, has 8 finishes on his record. Should be a fun one here at 145. Big Marcel, which way are you leaning?
Yeah, man. Every time I hear his name Murdoch, I have to think about the A-Team. You don't know the series?
The A-Team?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Murdoch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you said 80, like 80 at first.
no, man, A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vince Murdoch making his debut in the UFC. Jordan Griffin looked good, man, in his UFC debut, I think, against Dan Ige. It was a pretty competitive fight. He lost it by unanimous decision, but it was competitive, coming from the Contender Series. Vince Murdoch, solid fighter, like you said. That Indian deal, weird deal. He had some fights in Bellator, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm taking Jordan Griffin in this one, man. It's the most safe pick, I think, here. But I'm not gonna go for a newcomer at this point of time. I did with Dalcha, but I don't feel confident in this one. So taking Jordan Griffin, the native psycho, to get it done. Decision.
I'm taking Griffin to get it done with submission. I love the way he hunts after finishes. I think he's going to get it either in the second or the third round. I'll say Jordan Griffin submission third round. All right, we go up to 205 pounds, the light heavyweight division for this next one. Eric Anders, your boy, taking on Vinicius Moreira. Anders is a minus 350. comeback on Mamute Vinicius Moreira plus 290. Big Marcel, kick things off in this one.
Yeah, Vinicius Moreira. He's coming off the Contender Series, a big win over John Allen. Then he lost to Alonso Manifield in the first round, in the first event of this year, I think. Man, this dude, he looks big and all, but he blocks punches with his face, man. And that's not a good idea, I think. And Eric Anders, 3-fight losing skid, but man, he fought against Thiago Santos. That was a tough fight. Khalil Roundtree, he got outclassed in that one, and Elias Theodoro was a close fight as well. It's pretty weird to have a minus 350 favorite on the card with a 3-fight losing skid, but I agree here. I gotta go with your boy Eric Anders, and he gets it done with a knockout in the first round.
All right. I'm glad you said that. So Vinicius Moreira Mamute, 9-2 overall, 9 finishes, 8 submissions. Not the most pretty of form, we'll give you that, but definitely a good gas tank. And the guy finds a way to get it done. Meanwhile, it wasn't long ago that Eric Anders, your boy, was headlining UFC Fight Night in Belém, Brazil, I believe, against Lyoto Machida. He also headlined another card in Brazil against Thiago Santos, but like you mentioned, 3-fight losing streak. He's lost 4 of 5 now, 3-4 in the UFC. And to me, he hasn't been impressive at all. Completely shut out on the scorecards last time out against Khalil Roundtree. I'm surprised it didn't even get stopped earlier on. I'm just not really convinced Eric Anders can beat many in the division right now. And Vinicius Moreira, while he may catch a few early, I think he wears him down and grinds out a win. I'm taking Mamute, Brazilian. Ring the upset alarm on the Vegas odds. I'm taking Mamute to get it done with a decision here. Are you surprised, Big Marcel?
Oh, man, you always surprise me. So, what's new, right? Yeah, I'm kind of surprised with that, to be honest. Yeah, I am.
All right, well, headlining the prelims, these are also on ESPN as well here in the U.S. Ricardo Ramos taking on the UFC newcomer Journey Newson. Really happy to see Journey Newson get signed. Ramos, meanwhile, is a minus 325 favorite. The comeback on the late notice, Journey Newson plus 250. I actually really like this matchup. I'm excited for it. Ramos is 3-1 in the UFC. He's very well-rounded. He's more of a grappler, but we saw that crazy spinning elbow knockout he had against Ayman Zahabi, but he is coming off a first-round TKO loss to Saeed Nurmagomedov. Sergio Pettis is out in this one. Journey Newson, the newcomer, steps in. He's 9-1, 30 years old, trains in the Pacific Northwest. He has won 6 straight and finished 5, and his only career loss is to fellow UFC bantamweight Benito Lopez. Definitely a well-deserved opportunity for Newson. Rumors had been circulating that he was actually getting ready for a spot on this season's Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Big Marcel, another newcomer, steps in on late notice here, taking on an established UFC guy in Ricardo Ramos. Break this thing down.
Yeah, for some reason, I have the feeling, like many of people I read on Twitter, that you are going for Journey Newson in this one. I don't know why, but I have that feeling. But then I'm coming here. I'm just taking Ricardo Ramos for the simple reason that I'm impressed by Ramos. He didn't win against Said Nurmagomedov. That's true. But everything I saw so far from him, I think he's a pretty solid fighter. The Kyung-Ho Kang fight was a split decision. I still think he won that one, although I think John doesn't agree with me. But I think he looked pretty solid in the UFC so far, man. And I like his fighting style. He can mix it up pretty well. I think Jordy Newson, newcomer, like you said, he was probably going to go on a Contender Series if he didn't get this opportunity. Also a pretty good fighter, but I think Ramos is a step ahead of him in this one. And I'm taking Ricardo Ramos by unanimous decision.
I think Newson can be a solid up-and-coming talent in this division, but this is a tough matchup to come in on short notice. Wasn't even preparing for a different fight. He actually just fought not too far back. I mean, yeah, he might have been preparing for the Contender Series, but nothing came about for if there were any actual fight dates set. Ramos just seems like the better fighter right now. Don't like the short notice UFC debut that he has to face. Give me Ricardo Ramos by a submission second round.
Stop surprising me, dude. This getting weird. You're doing everything opposite. I think you're gonna do, Mr.
And then once
Unpredictable.
once once I do end up doing something that you're expecting, then I'm hoping you're ready to drop your Nate Diaz line.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going for Paul Craig in the next one, but let's go.
All right. Well, just because you mentioned it, Paul Craig now kicks things off on the main card. He takes on Alonzo Menafield. Menafield minus 320 favorite. The comeback on the Bear Jew, Paul Craig plus 260. Craig looks to take out another member of the Fortis MMA light heavyweight constituents. He's coming off that win over Kennedy Njoku. We know his bread and butter is his submission grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he's going to absolutely need to use it in this one. Alonzo Menafield is a whole different level of power puncher on the feet than what Paul Craig has fought in his last two bouts. Menafield, you mentioned, took out Vinicius Mamute Moreira pretty decisively in that UFC debut after that two-fight stint on the Contender Series. To me, I think Menafield stays unbeaten, gets Paul Craig out of there either late in the first or earlier in the second. Big Marcel, what you got?
Man, I will be super surprised if Paul Craig wins again, man. I mean, this dude, what he's doing first with the Ankalaev, which I'm sure if that fight will go 10 times again, Ankalaev will win that fight 10 times probably. And what's also bothering me is that many people are like, these are the 5 or 6 biggest prospects at 205, and don't call Ankalaev because he fought against Craig and he lost in the last second. But that aside, Paul Craig also that win against Kennedy Njoku where he was 3 rounds behind in the fight, and he won that as well. So, man, Alonzo Menafield has been impressive so far. What I saw from him, like you said, the Mamute knockout the first round, last time out. Contender series, two solid fights, I think. Got it in the second fight. The first fight that got stopped because of an injury by Daniel Jolie, if I remember correctly, and he fought. He fought in between for LFA. Man, I'd be crazy not to pick Manifield here, and I think he shouldn't wait till the third round to do something, but he's gonna do it in the first round probably. Getting a TKO for Manifield here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Alonzo Menafield take another step up in competition after this one.
Me too.
All right, another sizable favorite in this next one, lightweight, Drew Dober taking on Marco Polo Reyes. Dober minus 335 on the betting line. Comeback on Mexico's Polo Reyes plus 275. Big Marcel kicked things off at this bout at 155 pounds.
Yeah, Drew Dober. Dude looks so young, but he's already actually a veteran in the game. I mean, he fought many people already. Lost the last fight against Beneil Dariush, where he looked very good in the first round, but he got caught in the armbar. 3-fight winning streak before that. Paulo Reyes lost his last fight against Damir Hadzovic. It was in Prague. Won against Frivola in a pretty weird fight where we expected Frivola to get to the ground, but he went trading with him and he got knocked out. He lost to James Figan before that 3-fight winning streak with that classic against Dong Young Ma. Was actually the first fight of the night back then, was UFC 199, and they got the fight of the night. So it's just like last week, right, with their own win against Eric Spicely. I want to come back on that fight, by the way, with the fight of the night. Drew Dober, man. I'm definitely picking Drew Dober here. I think he has more tools to finish this fight, and I see him finishing Paulo Reyes probably by a TKO in the second round.
Yeah, Drew Dober, 1-3 of 4, working alongside the Elevation Fight team, putting his striking together nicely. I thought he was going to get it done against Beneil Dariush last time out. He had him hurt multiple times, but ultimately got submitted. Paulo Reyes, good striking, but you really never know what fighter is going to show up. I mean, he steamrolled Matt Frivola, no pun intended there, but then gets dominated by Damir Hadzovic last time out. Dober, I like what he's doing right now. I think he effectively takes it to him for 3 rounds and gets the decision. Dober, meanwhile, is one of those guys that I always like to see because he was one that didn't make it onto the Ultimate Fighter in the elimination round, back when they used to bring 32 people in, but worked his way up on the regional scene, made his way back and got the call. So I always like to see guys like that who end up making their way back to the UFC, even though went one and done on the Ultimate Fighter.
By the way, now I have the time. I want to apologize to Darren Wynn for always saying like, yeah, this and that. Man, the dude surprised me in his fight against Spicely. He mixed it up great. He was very aggressive, and man, I know that Darren Wynn from The Ultimate Fighter. I wasn't a big fan of his antics, but got to give him credit as a fighter, man. That was an amazing performance in his debut against Eric Spicely. Got the fight of the night, and man, all credits to him getting two opponent changes, three opponents he signed a contract for, and he did it. So I got to give him some props here.
Yeah, great fight to kick things off on that card last weekend. And man, Spicely made it come up on the losing end, but he looks so much more improved than in his first UFC stint. All right, well, we stay at 155 pounds for this next bout, and this should be a fun one. Roosevelt Roberts taking on Vince from Hell Pichel. Roberts minus 280 on the betting line. Vegas really favoring the up-and-comer here. Vince Pichel plus 240. People are very high on Ro Roberts and his massive potential right now. 2-0 in the UFC, had a very tough Thomas Gifford this past April, but he goes right into camp for a true veteran in Vince Pichel. Great nickname, From Hell Pichel. Love that. Coming off a loss to Gregor Gillespie a year ago, but prior to that had won back-to-back fights. I also did hear that Vince Pichel had accepted a fight with Dan Hooker at the event broken by our very own Big Marcel, but both combatants actually were aiming to fight sooner, so they opted to break the fight agreement and take different matchups on different cards. As we know, Pichel is here. Dan Hooker now on the UFC San Antonio card opposite James Vick. I like Vince Pichel's toughness, no-nonsense approach, but this is a tough matchup for him with a guy like Roberts with a lot of hype behind him. Seems to be very well-rounded. Big Marcel, how do you see this one going?
Man, you say you love this fight. I hate this fight because I don't want to see anybody lose. I really like Vince Pichel. I think he's a great fighter. He always reminded me of something like a long-lost brother of Cub Swanson, man. Oh yeah, how he looks. You don't think so?
He kind of does, and he has those back tattoos too.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he's a fun fighter to watch, man. He's always aggressive, come forward. Lost his last fight against Gregor Gillespie, but who doesn't lose to Gregor Gillespie? Roosevelt Roberts. Yeah, two good fights so far in the UFC, I think. Also coming from the Contender Series fights. The last fight against Thomas Gifford was tough, man. I think he did really well against Roosevelt Roberts. And this will be a tough one for Roberts. I think he can finish maybe Pichel in the first or second round, but I think as longer as it goes, maybe Pichel will be has the advantage. But my gut feeling says Roberts going to get this, but I'm not surprised if Pichel wins this one. So I'm pretty 50-50 on this one, taking Roosevelt Roberts by a TKO late in the second round.
And that's yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes longer. Pichel is able to kind of weather the early storm and take it away on the scorecards. But I think Roberts will face adversity and handle it well. And he'll walk away the victor on the judges' scorecards. Might be a split, but give me Ro Roberts here in the toughest bout of his young professional career thus far.
Yeah, Pichel is a very tough fighter, I think, for everybody in the division, and definitely if you're an up-and-comer. Roosevelt Roberts still undefeated, man. I think this is a real test, man. If Roosevelt Roberts gets by Vince Pichel, he's, I think, pretty close to get soon to be a top 20, top 15 fighter soon.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we got our first ranked fighter on the card in this next one at 170 pounds in the welterweight division. Damian Maia is a minus 190 favorite against Anthony Rocco Martin, plus 165 on the betting line for American top teams, Anthony Martin. He's been impressive at 170, man. 4 fights, 4 wins, 2 finishes, most recently taking out Sergio Moraes. Didn't get a finish in that one, but a pretty dominant decision. Really accomplished grappler in his own right, and we know he's a primary training partner of Colby Covington, is Anthony Rocco Martin. Meanwhile, Damian Maia back in the win column earlier this year after dealing with the 3-headed monster of UFC and interim welterweight champions Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman. Submitted Lyman Good in classic Damian Maia fashion. We know Tony Martin is a very well accomplished grappler. Not sure he can be submitted on the ground, but Damian Maia always dangerous once it hits the mat. Big Marcel, you like the veteran, you like the up and comer. What do you got?
Man, it's basically like this, man. I think Anthony Rocco Martin, in my opinion, hasn't lost since 2015 against Leonardo Santos because I think he defeated Aubin Mercier where he got the split decision loss in. Damian Maia, three losses in a row, but against Woodley, Covington, Usman, who doesn't lose against these guys. Win against Lyman Good, that went really Maya-ish, really smooth, without any trouble. I was really surprised how he made that look, man. I have a hard time. Listen, Anthony Rocco Martin is a pretty solid fighter, but I also think his strong point is really his wrestling and his dominant ground game normally, and he can't. I don't think he's going to put that against Maya. I don't think he has the Covington Woodley Usman level yet to bring to Maya, and that's why I'm picking Damian Maya by unanimous decision.
Wow, I could have sworn you were going to pick Rocco Martin in that one. I agree with you. I think he's on quite the roll, and I thought he won that OAM fight too, but Maya is just he's probably the best submission grappler in the welterweight division, and I think Maya is able to catch him something early on. Give me Maya via submission. All right, co-main event time. We got a bout at 125 in the flyweight division, which may or may not still be in existence. Jury's still out on that one. Jussier Formiga sitting at number 1 in the ranks. He takes on number 2, Joseph Benavidez. Benavidez minus 175. Jussier Formiga plus 155. Serious veteran Formiga, man. 27-5-1 in MMA. 14-3 in the UFC. And sorry, I meant Joseph Benavidez, not Jussier Formiga. Guy's a stud. One of those 14 wins comes over Jussier Formiga in 2013, coming off back-to-back wins over Dustin Ortiz and a finish of Alex Perez. He owns a win over current champion Henry Cejudo. Meanwhile, Jussier Formiga, 4-fight win streak. In my opinion, it should be 6. 3 dominant performances, then a decision over previously unbeaten Davison Figueiredo. Big Marcel, this is a close fight on paper, way closer than the line suggests. How you see this one going?
Yeah, man, it's actually pretty funny that you say Formiga should have a 6-fight win streak, because in my opinion, I think Benavidez should have a 9-fight win streak. So I don't agree with the Pettis decision. I know you don't agree with me in that one, but that's okay. Yeah, this is a fun fight. I think it's a rematch. It's a fun fight to watch, but it doesn't mean anything, honestly, because that flyweight division is gone. Let's be honest. It's not going to go anywhere. Henry Cejudo is out for months now, and he wants to be at welterweight and featherweight. He was so-called going to save the flyweight division. We all knew if he got the bantamweight title, it was not going to happen anymore. So I don't see it happening. Maybe the UFC going to give one of these two guys an interim title shot. Wow. And then we don't ever see an actual flyweight fight again, I think. But it's a fun matchup, man. I really like both guys. But, man, I'm always picking Joseph Benavidez because I think he's all around such a good game. I always said he was the second best flyweight after Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. And I still think he's the second best flyweight behind Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. So I'm picking Joseph Benavidez in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's the second best flyweight behind Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, but this is a different Jussier Formiga that he's fighting, and I don't know. I just think Formiga can actually figure it out to get it done in this one. I'm taking Formiga here, decision. Wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, but I don't know. Something's telling me that he's going to rise to the occasion on Saturday night and get a win in, like you said, a meaningless division right now. But nonetheless, I am excited to see this fight, even though the implications might be small.
Max is going to go absolutely crazy, but that's okay.
Hey, I was pumped when Formiga beat Davis and Figueiredo because it seemed like everyone, including Vegas, was all in on Figueiredo.
Yeah, and I didn't get that at all, man. I think we both didn't get that because Formiga is, we all knew Formiga is so good on the ground, and we also everybody saw Davis and Figueiredo against Jared Brooks, and Figueiredo didn't want that fight. He even said it himself that he didn't want that fight, and we saw how Brooks took him down in that fight, and we know what Formiga can do on the ground, and that's exactly what he did against Davison. So I wasn't surprised, and I know you weren't either.
No, not at all. All right, main event time. A couple of resurgent former UFC heavyweight title holders / contenders re-emerging at the top of the division, and I am honestly pumped about it. Number 2, Francis Ngannou is a -250 favorite against number 3, former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos, +210. Big Marcel, main event of the evening. Kick it off.
Yeah, man, Junior Dos Santos has looked pretty good since his comeback. After his Stipe loss, got that suspension. That suspension what took him out of the game for a second. But 3-fight win streak, man. 2 stoppages in his last 2 against Tai Tuivasa against Derek Lewis. On the other side, you got Francis Ngannou, who looked absolutely lackluster against Derek Lewis after his loss against Stipe Miocic, but done had some 2 great knockout wins against Curtis Blades and Cain Velasquez. 2 solid performances. So, yeah, man, we all know Junior Dos Santos gets hit in fights, right? And man, you don't want to get hit by one of those bombs from Ngannou. But we also know after the first round, those punches aren't as hard as anymore as in the first round. This can be 5 rounds, and if it goes 5 rounds, I'm favoring Junior Dos Santos in this one. So I'm taking Dos Santos by unanimous decision. I don't think many people will go to a decision, but I will.
Wow. Yeah, I if it goes 5 rounds, I'm with you. This fight ain't going 5 rounds. Give me Ngannou to get it done late in the first round. I know Dos Santos, can stick and move. That's kind of his game plan these days. But Ngannou, fight changing power. He's not the same. He's going to hit Junior Dos Santos harder than anyone has since Stipe Miocic. So give me Ngannou to get it done with that late TKO in the first. All right. We don't just pick the fight winners. We pick the bonuses too. And Big Marcel, I'm going to already answer one for you because you picked a whopping total of 1 underdog, being Junior Dos Santos. So he is your default underdog of the evening.
Serious?
Yeah, the only one.
My God, that's bad.
Man, so my choices are Jussier Formiga and Vinicius Moreira and
First fight.
Junior Albini. I will take, man, I don't know, that's tough. Give me Albini to get it done as my underdog. I like Vinicius Moreira. I think he will beat Eric Anders, but I'm a little slightly more confident in Junior Albini getting it done here.
This guy Max, he wants to destroy me right off the bat with the first fight. He's like, damn, bang, 1-0, 0-1
1-0.
already. Get the underdog pick. He just wants to destroy me from the get go.
Kick things off right away. It's all strategy here. All right, performance of the night bonuses. Big Marcel, hand out 2 of them.
2 of them. Yeah, that's a tough one. I picked some decisions right. Let me think. We're going with Alonzo Manifield. And we're going with Roosevelt. No, we're going not with Roosevelt Roberts. No, we're going with Roosevelt Roberts. Yeah.
We're going with Roosevelt Roberts. We're not going with Roosevelt Roberts. We're going with Roosevelt Roberts.
I was sure. Yeah.
Is that your final answer? Are you sure about that one?
Let me think for 10 minutes. Yeah, it's my final answer.
Okay. So Manifield and Roberts. I'm going Francis Ngannou and Alonzo Manifield as well. My pick for fight of the night is a sleeper. I'm going Jordan Griffin and Vince Murdoch.
Okay.
Where are you at?
In the Netherlands. I'm going with Dober against Polo Reyes.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that one ended up being a wild one. All right. And the lock of the evening, who is your most confident pick? Because last weekend, Arian Lipsky did not cash as a lock for you.
Obviously not. Who is my lock? Yeah. Let's go with Alonso Manifield, man. Let's go crazy.
All right, I'm going with Jared Flash Gordon as my lock. I think he's just the better fighter over Dan Moret and should cruise to a win here. All right, let's just run down a recap real quick. Kicking things off.
Watch.
What?
I said, chill the thrill. Watch.
Oh, yeah. Chill the thrill. Keith Schilling, shout out. Now, here's your recap. Junior Albini over Mo Green in the curtain jerker. Big Marcel is going green to get it done in his home state. Both taking Emily Whitmire over Amanda Ribas, returning from the USADA suspension. Both taking the newcomer, Dalcha Lungiambula, to get it done by a TKO over Justin Ledette. Both have Jared Gordon taking out Dan Moret by a decision. Both have Jordan Griffin getting it done over the newcomer Vince Murdoch. Split on this next one. Big Marcel's got your boy Eric Anders. I got the underdog Vinicius Moreira to grind out a decision. Both taking Ricardo Hamosh over the UFC newcomer Journey Newson. Both taking Alonzo Menafield to get it done over Paul Craig in the main card opener. Both have Drew Dober over Polo Reyes. Both have Roosevelt Roberts taking out Vince Pichel. Both have Damian Maia getting done over Anthony Rocco Martin. Split on the co-main event. Big Marcel taking the former title challenger Joseph Benavidez. I am going with Jussier Formiga as the underdog. And in the main event of the evening, Big Marcel's got the former UFC heavyweight champion Junior Dos Santos getting a decision over the former title challenger Francis Ngannou. Meanwhile, I'm taking the challenger Ngannou to get it done via TKO in the first. Handing out bonuses. Fight of the night for me is Jordan Griffin over Vince Murdoch, and then Big Marcel going Drew Dober over Polo Reyes on the main card. Performance of the night bonuses. Big Marcel's got Alonzo Menafield. I do as well. He also is taking Roosevelt Roberts. I am taking Francis Ngannou in the main event. Underdog of the evening by default. Big Marcel's got Junior Dos Santos. I got Junior Albini in the first fight of the night. And then our locks of the evening, Big Marcel sticking with Alonzo Menafield to get it done over Paul Craig. I'm taking Jared Flash Gordon over Dan Moret. That is UFC Minneapolis. Big Marcel, any final thoughts, words, feedback, anything you want to get out there before we get out of here?
Nothing special, man. Just enjoy the fights and.
Hey, pretty good weekend for Dutch fighters this past weekend. Melvin Manhoff getting a win. Costello Van Steenis over in Bellator. Denise Keelholz, I believe, walked away with a victory.
Yeah, only Gegard didn't.
The only one that didn't, Gegard Mousasi. And I don't know if he wants me putting this out there, but Big Marcel called that fight. He actually predicted Rafael Lovato Jr., and I just did it again. Rafael Lovato Jr. to get it done. And cash is that underdog. So good pick, Big Marcel. I did not see that happening.
Yeah, man, there was some kind of how do you say that over here on the TV in the Netherlands. So people were really down about this. Like, how can this happen? Such a big upset. And I was like, guys, it's an upset, yeah, but it's not a huge upset. I mean, we know the strength of Lovato Jr. and we knew if Mousasi couldn't stop the takedown, it was going to be a difficult night for him, and that's exactly what kind of happened, you know. And yeah, I think we probably will see a rematch for the simple reason that that the UFC that Bellator is going to do Ryan Bader against Chik Congo soon. So Mousasi is not going to go to light heavyweight or anything soon that he maybe wanted to do. And it was a close fight, man. And I don't see Van Steenis getting that opportunity right now. Maybe he should fight Salter, I think, for example. That would be a good fight. Or it's either Lovato Jr. for Mousasi 2 or against Machida. One of those two, I think we will see.
Yeah, but what Costello Van Steenis, though, looking forward to his next fight. That guy's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely, man. Very impressive as well against one of the biggest prospects from England, Mike Shipman, man.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, Big Marcel, where can the people find and follow your great work?
They can find me in Maastricht in the Netherlands. But if you want to see me online, you can follow me at Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow MMA DNA on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or you can go to the website mmadna.nl.
Masterick, is that the name of your city?
Yeah, you say Maastricht, but yeah, you have the right city.
Clearly, I didn't pronounce it right, but I still sort of got it right.
Yeah.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Trademark MMA. We'll see about putting some content out there soon, but always check out the Loudmouth MMA podcast network. Be sure to find and follow, leave any reviews or anything like that. Thank you everyone for joining the podcast today. We will be back next week for the big monumental International Fight Week UFC 239 event, but enjoy UFC on ESPN3, UFC Minneapolis. Take care, everyone.